Welcome back to the Weekend Review edition of Bayou Time. We now go to Monday's edition, July 4th, and we take you to the city of Thibodaux for their 4th of July ceremony.
We thank our members of the veterans organizations, that's Veterans of the Vietnam War, the American Legion. Now we'll have the 21 gun salute by VFW Post 5097's Honor Guard. And as a symbol of peace, we'll now have a dove release.
It's a privilege for me to be here in the presence of all the veterans that have attended this afternoon. Is somewhat of an understatement. I never served in the military, but to say that I'm in awe of what the veterans have done for us in our world wars, in Vietnam, in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, what they've done for us, again, I'm in total awe of. My respect for them and what they've accomplished in their lifetime is second to none. I hope that every opportunity we get when we have a chance to run across these individuals is to take just a minute of our time to simply tell them thank you for what you've done in your lifetime. You know, to sit here and say that we've had the experiences they've had, we simply have not. But what amazes me most about our veterans is their humility and the fact that you talk to individuals who served in wars overseas and what they've accomplished and what they've experienced, and they simply are not one to brag about it. So sometimes we may need to take a little effort to go out and tell them thank you. Sometimes you get them to come out and speak a little bit about their experiences. And believe me, we had an opportunity today to visit with a veteran of World War II who lives on Menard Street, Mr. Paul Bayou, who's 93 years old. Mr. Paul couldn't be with us this afternoon, but we wanted to take an opportunity to extend to him the same experiences, hopefully, that our veterans are having this afternoon. Again, you know, to say that this is an event for everyone, yes it is, but today, as it is in every day that we honor our veterans, this is your day. The fact that we have the privilege and the freedoms that we have in our country is simply a test to your bravery and your I guess what I'd like to say is your confidence in all that our country stands for.
It's a pleasure to be out here in front of the veterans. What can I say? You guys fight for freedom. You give us the freedom, not only to hold office, but to be able to run for office. It's an honor, a real honor. But I'd like to challenge all the folks out here, and especially young folks, to get involved in the political system and start voting, because we're losing voters more and more when you get a 20% turnout. So that's my challenge to you guys, not just the veterans, but everybody out here. Get folks out to the election box. And thanks again, veterans. I appreciate it.
And again, we hope you all had a happy and safe 4th of July. That concludes Monday's edition of Bayou Time. What we'll do now is we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go into Tuesday's edition of Bayou Time, where Charlotte Randolph, the parish president of Lafourche, joined us on the set of Bayou Time. Welcome back to the Weekend Review here on Bayou Time. We now take you to Tuesday's edition, where Charlotte Randolph, the parish president of Lafourche, was here on the set of Bayou Time. Let's talk a little bit about the state of Lafourche Parish. We're in the summer months now, but let's talk a little bit about permits. I know that's been somewhat of an issue in Lafourche Parish. In general, if you can just explain to our listeners and viewers and residents of Lafourche, when somebody needs to get a specific permit, what is the procedure that one has to go through?
We've actually begun a campaign recently that focuses on permits. As simply as we could, in as few words as possible, to say to people, before you build it, permit it. The legislature, after Katrina Rita, decided, and based upon the urging of both the insurance companies as well as FEMA, that it was time for Louisiana to adopt a code for building. And they adopted the International Building Code at that point in time. It became effective in 2007. Changed life as we knew it here. Certainly elevations were something that we were cognizant of simply because of where we live. Our ancestors knew very well why it was important to build high and build strong because of the hurricanes. We kind of got a false sense of security after the fact that we had not had a major storm in this area in over 40 years after Betsy. Andrew certainly did its damage here in Terrebonne, but it was not to the extent that Betsy brought in the water and everything else. So the legislature complied with what the insurance companies and FEMA requested and enacted Act 12 of the legislature, which is the official form of the building code. At that point, there was not much building going on insofar as, let's just say, as far as more remodeling, more repair after the storms, and certainly again after Gustav and Ike, we experienced that. Those four storms in these areas, both Lafourche and Terrebonne and regionally, experienced quite a bit of flooding, of wind damage and things like that. So at that point, it really became important to enact or to implement what the legislature had enacted. So we began enforcing the building codes. Simultaneously, and previously to that, the National Flood Insurance Program was in jeopardy in Lafourche Parish. There were about 50 variances granted to residents in the area, arbitrarily, not without a pattern, and therefore FEMA came in and said, well, the first thing they did was they removed our 5% discount because we were not in compliance with the flood program, and began to monitor those 48 or so variances that had been granted, to the extent that the district attorney had to step in and begin ordering compliance. Finally, this year, 2011, we were able to rectify what had been done in the past. We have not achieved the 5% discount yet, but we're working toward it.
When we return, we'll go to Wednesday's edition of Bayou Time, and we'll recap everything that occurred on Wednesday.